Hello, everyone. Great to see you all. Thanks for joining today.
Okay.
And to everyone in our audience, thank you so much for attending. We're very excited. We're all glad to have you here for our fourth founder to franchisor conversation with Haven's founder, Britt Riley. My name is Karina Halloran, and I'll be today's moderator. Sorry. As some of you may know, in our webinar series, Britt invites thoughtful, meaningful dialogue about what it truly means to be a purpose-driven brand, one designed to make a real difference for families and communities. In today's chat, we are inspired by Women's History Month, and we have Haven's founder, Britt Riley, as well as Haven's co-founders, Morgan Everson and Christy Johnson. Our goal today is to have a heartfelt discussion about the journey from idea to reality, and now with our franchising journey growing beyond the Northeast. These three women are leaders, community builders, and visionaries, all while being mothers, adventurers, and more. Our goal today is to have a 20-minute chat, and then at the end, we'll do a 15-minute Q&A with everyone's questions from the audience, so please pop them in the chat. Anyways, Britt, Morgan, and Christy will do a much better job introducing themselves, so I will pass the mic on to Britt.
Hello. That intro just made me want to only talk about adventures because Christy and Morgan have been on some pretty ridiculously cool adventures. We could spend the whole time on that if we want. But I'm Britt Riley. I'm the CEO and founder of Haven, and super excited to have Christy and Morgan on today just to talk about our journey. And I'm from the very beginning, coming up now on 7 years since we opened our first club, and 5 years since we opened our club in New Jersey. Uh, just going through what we've experienced, the interactions mainly along the way with families and our own experiences of the clubs and our families, because all three of our families have really spent a lot of time, um, in and around the clubs as well. So yeah, very excited about it. Morgan, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Okay. Hi, I'm Morgan Everson. I am a co-founder and our COO. I joined on as soon as I heard the idea from Britt in 2019. And in sort of my daily in the company, um, I sort of help bring our ideas to life and work with our teams every day and really just sort of take care of the actual, comings and goings and the operations of the business. And yeah, work with our, big ideas to try to make them a reality. Um, so yeah, thanks for having me.
And Christy,
Hi, Christy Johnson, and I feel so fortunate to have been introduced to Britt and Morgan 5 years ago now, or six. I guess we really met 6 years
six,
ago, but
six
to
years ago.
um, meet women who are so inspiring and inspired, and to just be a part of this family that's growing, this community. And it's something that took me all the way back to what I wanted to do as a child, and sort of like a culmination of my life's journey and biggest adventure. And I think the biggest adventure of all is parenting. And if we can help parents parent better and children feel more confident and resilient and excited about life, then we're succeeding. And I'm just so excited to be a part of this. I am director of health and wellness. So I get involved with food, nutrition, exercise, all the things that sort of help make you feel more complete, I guess, on your journey. And yeah, just really happy to be here today.
We're super happy that both of you guys are here. It's been the journey of my life to build this with the two of you. And I wouldn't change a single thing. Um, so yeah, it's very excited to be able to have this chat.
Wonderful. Thank you all so much. And so I'm going to ask this question to both you and Morgan and Christy. So when Britt approached you both for this idea of Haven, including childcare, shared and private workspaces, and health, wellness, fitness, all under one roof with one membership, like why, how, what did you see immediately that made you say yes? Morgan, do you want to start?
I will start. Um, my story is actually very funny. I mean, I've known Britt for a long time before, we got going with this. We'd worked together at different companies, and she always had a lot of big ideas. This is true. She was definitely born to be an entrepreneur. And we would talk about these ideas, and she would, we'd sort of talk through them, and sometimes, and um, in this particular case, she had been talking about it, and then I was, thinking about it, and then, but it wasn't really like a pitch yet. It was just a, here's an idea, and here's what I'm working on. And as it was 2019, so I was pregnant at the time, but Britt did not know that. And so I think it was, yeah, I think it was around May of June of 2019. And we met, and we were chatting through it. And, essentially, I had already been asking myself, like, what am I going to do for childcare? I really had no idea. I mean, really. And I had not planned a thing yet. And really, it was it was so serendipitous, like so many things in this company, so much of our story. Truly had not a plan for that, but also was ready to take a new step in, whatever I was doing with my career. And as soon as Britt had a building for us to walk through and like show me, because it's one thing to have a concept, but another to say, here, come see this place. Here's what I'm envisioning. And look, this could go here and we could do this. And here's all the, then it was like, yeah, I think I have to do this. And so it was very funny because Britt didn't even know I was pregnant. And I think it was some point along the way as we were painting a room and I was asking what kind of paint it was. And I don't think I should be in these toxic fumes that, I'm like, actually, there's something you should know. And it was like, blew the whole thing open. So, of course, that was like, again, like it was just serendipitous. And that's what brought me into the idea and just the fact that the concept itself was just a great idea. And why hadn't it been done? And how could we, how were we going to do it was kind of the next question. We both had different backgrounds. Mine is more of like a business and operations and customer service. And so, how could we bring those things into building it? And so, anyway, the actual idea was like, yes, I want to do something like this. So, um, that's kind of what led it all down the path of, I think, yeah, June of 2019. And we had our first place doors open by late August of 2019.
And
That was,
Christy? Oh, sorry.
I was
Yes.
just gonna say, like super quick. The second that I found that building and knew that it could be a thing, and the landlord it said we can be out in 30 days, it's all yours. I immediately called Morgan and was like, you gotta come and meet me at this place. And I had kind of been keeping it under my belt a little bit because I have had so many ideas in the past. And if you tell too many people, there's sometimes then it doesn't work. And with this one, I just knew that it was going to be a thing. Like it had to be a thing. And so it was one of the first things that I had really kept pretty close. But I called her, she met me at the building. And I remember after I showed her everything and told her everything, and I remember she walked down the stairs and she looked up at me and she goes, I knew that you were working on something really like neat. And I didn't quite know that it was this, but I'm in. And I was just like, let's go. Because I could never have done this without Morgan. Like she's the other half of my brain. You always have been. You
It's
always
true.
have been. I can have ideas, but ideas go nowhere unless you've got somebody who can help you execute on it. And Morgan and I have always complemented each other in that way. In and now, 8 years later, or however long it's been, it's just, it's built into this super symbiotic, just this relationship that keeps growing and building on itself. But yeah, I have so many good memories with both of you. But these two stories of how you both entered the picture are extremely special to me.
Wonderful. And Christy, could you share what made you say yes?
Yes. Again, and Morgan talks about serendipity. I didn't know Morgan or Britt. I really didn't have any friends in Newport, Rhode Island. Pretty much, I was just um, one day, a fellow Ironman competitor reached out to me on Facebook in 2000, end of 2019, and she wanted to talk about racing. And I was like, yeah, okay. And so we set up a conversation literally from Facebook Messenger, and we're totally random women's triathlon group. And so we set up this call and we started talking, and she asked me what I was doing. And I'm like, well, I'm an empty nester. My youngest child has just left for college, and I'm not really sure what's next for me, but I've been planning to start this business that's all about building community now. And I started to describe this business that I wanted to create, and I had been dreaming of it for years. And it was a wellness based community building um, project. And she said, before you do that, before you dig into that, let me just introduce you to my friend Britt Riley, because she's doing something I think you will find amazing. I was like, sure, set up a call. No problem. I would love to talk to her. And on the side, I had been looking for real estate for this other business. And so Britt and I got on a call, and it's COVID and all the races have been canceled. And I was like, yeah, raising kids, doing Ironman. I knew everything going, like what I was doing. And then all of a sudden I had this like empty space. And here comes Britt. She's like, I have this idea that I've started this company. She describes Haven to me. I'm like, that's perfect. She's like, we want to grow, we want to expand. You're in the perfect area for it. I had the perfect building, like literally found this real estate. I was like, this is the perfect building to build this in. And it took me back to my childhood where my mother was a Head Start teacher. My mother helped implement corporate daycare at Johnson and Johnson. Like this is what I grew up with in my early childhood development. And I studied developmental psychology. So when Britt is talking about the importance of early childhood education, there's literally 0 to 6 years, I'm thinking to myself, yeah, that's when the importance of daycare came into my psyche, into my
Hmm.
unconscious, because I was going to daycare with my mom every day when she was teaching. And yeah, it just, to me, amazing how life can bring you on that journey, and how it brought
Yeah.
Britt and Morgan through Ironman and all this twisting and turning of this. But there was no way I would have said no. I mean, the first thing I did was send the pitch deck to a really smart friend. And I was like, I want you to reassure me that this is the right business, because I am sure, but I don't know how to read a pitch deck. He's like, 100% do everything you can, get in as deep as you can, and go with it. He said, this is brilliant. It's a great concept. And I already knew that. And I just, it made so much sense to me. And I was sorry that I didn't have it when my kids were growing up, but so glad that we can provide it for so many other people.
Yeah. That I love hearing that. That's awesome. And the first time, I remember the very first time that you and I got on the phone together. And it was, I mean, all of us are in our houses. We can't go. It was the part of COVID when you couldn't even like I
Go
didn't
anywhere.
even know if it was okay to drive,
Right.
out on the roads. Like that was that time. And we jump on the phone and we were on the phone for hours. And it
Hmm.
was just one of those conversations where you're like, oh, this is one of my people.
Yeah.
And so then we the, our friend who introduced us, both of us were like, we're both kind of risk takers in general. And we were just like, all right, we're going to drive down there. And we're going to spend a few days with Christy. And she's just an amazing person. And so we jumped in the car and we drove down and spent an amazing 3 days going through everything. And it was so inspiring. Uh, and during that time, you're like, there's this building, and I think it's perfect for it. And so we went in the car and we went and looked at this building, and it was covered in plywood.
Fully
But if
gutted.
there's
Fully gutted.
totally gutted, like completely gutted,
Like, I have a vision.
yeah. But that's the thing is there's you can see things and that they're going to work, and you can see the vision, and you can look at a building, um and now I think like Morgan and I and everyone can, like, we can see something and say, yeah, that's going to be such a home run. And so I looked at it with her, and the developers were amazing, and they've got this long-term vision of that area and the community and wanting to build up the community. And so they got on board with us pretty much during that first meeting. And then we just went for it. And during COVID, with all the delays and the, you know, the the unique complications that happened during that time, we built out the most mind-blowingly amazing haven. I mean, it was everything that was in my mind to, down to the tiniest detail where you this old barn with reclaimed wood and being able to elevate it and turn it into this amazing sanctuary for families was just it was it was a very cool experience. And ever since then, what has taken place in that building with the families and the community and the there's groups of parents now who they go and do triathlons because they've got the support they need, that they can actually focus on something that's that demanding outside of work and childcare, which is usually pretty all consuming without support. And yeah, it's been the coolest experience. Super fortunate to have the two of you. I mean, this is when you talk about having home run teams and making sure that you're surrounding everybody that's part of something that is trying to change people's lives with people who, one, completely and wholly just believe in it in their bones. And then two, have the keep going, you know?
Mhm.
I think that's one thing that definitely you two both have, which is this, we're figuring it out. I mean, that's it. At the end of the day, it's like, all right, let's figure it out. And then we enjoy the process because we're in. And so, yeah, the way that both of you join this is just, it's one of those storybook kind of experiences for me, for sure.
I have chills from listening for all these stories. It's so wonderful. And so, Britt, I think I'd love to hear a little bit more about this core leadership team that you've built. And Morgan described it as the heavy believers in Haven. And so, how did that culture? It's so true, though. I mean, just hearing from you guys, hearing from others, it really is a team of heavy believers, and it's necessary. So,
Hmm.
how did that culture develop? Like, and why is belief such an important ingredient for when you're building such a mission driven company?
So there's two things. One thing is the culture of a company is what will determine whether or not it successfully grows, and importantly, whether or not you're looking at something that can actually change the trajectory of, call it, an industry or people's lives in general for the better. It's the difference between having a company that's going to make it 5 years or a company that's going to make it 100 years. Because at the end of the day, you want people who really genuinely are showing up with purpose and that are passionate, even if their job is one which traditionally, maybe isn't like super exciting. If you believe in what you're doing, then you're happy to show up for it, right? And
Mhm.
and if you're surrounded by people who are encouraging each other and really good at what they do and always looking around corners for opportunities and solutions and helping each other out, that's the kind of company culture that's going to weather all sorts of different storms. And so I fortunately had an experience way back in the beginning of my career where I got to work at Patagonia for a period of time and experiencing what they had built there and then learning about how they did it. I wrote my college thesis about their culture because it was just so incredibly profoundly different, but it just made so much sense. So building that into our company from day one and then sacrificing absolutely, just not wavering from it and making sure that the way that our teams treat each other and the culture and the way that our teams and the families and just all the interactions of the community are true to that has been what has made us so strong. And it's also been what attracts such amazing people to it. So we're surrounding ourselves with, I wasn't in childcare before we started this, but we surrounded ourselves with people who really, they were born to do this work and they love it and they show up every day and they're so passionate about it. And then the other piece of it is making sure that the company is one which people, they wake up in the morning and I know that we're doing everything that we can to make it so when someone wakes up, they're excited to go, whether it's a member, a child, or our team members, to step foot through the doors, whether it's virtual doors and they're stepping foot into, their remote office and they work on our team, or if they're going to a haven. I am so committed to making sure that our whole team's doing everything possible to make that experience for them one which enriches their life. And that is every single person who has anything to do with this company. Um, and that's important to me because time is the most important thing that we have. Time is finite. Time is so much, it's priceless. You simply can't put a value on it. And I take that so seriously. That's a responsibility that we all have, one for each other, but also for everybody who we're trying to help improve their lives. And so to me, back when had my kind of going through Patagonia and learning about what my values were and culture and I realized that at the end of the day, if you feel like you're living a full life and you feel like what you're doing during the day today, you can feel like is this is something that I can look back on when I'm older and feel like, yeah, I lived. I really lived. Then you're successful. Like that's wealth to me. Like that is a rich life. And I want that for every single person
Mhm.
in my heart, in the absolute core of me. All I want is for those kids to have that experience as kids, for our teams to have that experience, whether it's the environment around them and they can feel proud of what they're stepping into and they can feel at home and comfortable in the classroom that they teach in, or whether it's just the way that we treat each other on our teams, and then also the parents. I mean, we'll put everything that we can in their hands. They can use it as they want to. They can not use it if they don't need it. But if we give them the tools to live that full life, whether it's a Peloton bike or good coffee or a stand-up desk with a treadmill under it, or just a really comfy couch to crash out on for 20 minutes sometime, then they can use it if they need it. And if they don't have to. But what we want to do is to put as many things into play as we can to take stress off their shoulders, which then gives back to the quality of life that they have. And of course, that their kids are going to have. And so I mean, that it's completely unwavering in that sense. I would sooner not have a company at all than waver in any way from that.
Wow, thank you so much. That's I 100% agree with what you've just said. And Morgan, like one of your strengths is to bring people together. You talked in our pre-chat, you talked about how you were a D3 lacrosse player and been a part of teams for, most of your life. And so like your core ethos as a COO has been to build a thriving team. And seeing that real world impact. So, could you
Mm-mm.
expand upon this idea and expand upon what Britt has just said as kind of like putting it in play, especially for franchises?
Yeah. Well, I mean, Britt put it pretty well about like how we attract great people. Um, but yeah, I mean, I think that I would say this goes for anyone on our team, which is just like in terms of leadership, every single one of our leaders shows up for people the way that they would like to be shown up for, right? So, it's a lot of empathy. I don't know if you get that word in companies that aren't maybe majority women. I don't know, but like we have um our leadership teams have a lot of empathy for our other team members and whatever you're going through, whatever your day is, whatever your, you know, I think that that's like one of our sort of best qualities in like the teams that we've built. Um, and like we're really proud of that. We have like a nice culture of respect, and our culture has an immune system that kind of like spits out those who aren't a good fit, which we very rarely have not a good fit. I must say, like that's the whole point is like as leaders, we kind of were very proactive in addressing anything. And I think, you know, for again, the future of franchising for us, like just know we are the most proactive people. We'd rather go above and beyond before anything becomes a problem or, give it the resources. And then we also, have a culture of letting people um, try. Like, so if it's try and fail, then it's try and fail. But most times it's try and succeed. So we have this culture where people are not only allowed to, but encouraged to bring their ideas to like the very top. And that's not super common at a lot of companies, right? Like you don't often have people who are sort of in, I don't want to call it entry level, but like any level in any job, you can't often bring an idea to your CEO or your COO or your CFO, anybody and say, I'd like to try this. It's going to cost this much. Could we do this? But I think in terms of, again, like how we think as a company and how we plan to grow, um, we love details and we're definitely looking into every single thing, but we're there for the team members who want to bring ideas and help us grow. And I think that's why it's so successful and that we will grow successfully is because, um, it kind of goes for anybody on the team. So, I mean, I think that's a big part of it. Britt really covered a lot of that. And it's worth saying that we are certified as a great place to work, which is super cool. It's an actual certification. It's not very easy to achieve it because you have to have a certain percentage of your employees who participate in the poll, and then they have to come out with a percentage of the answers that answer the question, show you as a great place to work. And respect is one of those ones, like respect and engagement and pride in our work, support, leadership behavior, caring, and corporate image. They were all above 90%. That's everybody on the ground thinking those things. Like that's a big deal. And even though, how many, I don't know, we're around 60 people total, but that's a great percentage to have over 90% of those people feeling like they're a big part of our success. So we take a lot of pride in that.
That's wonderful. And team adjacent, Christy, you're pretty much a professional athlete, or at least you're an elite athlete. And so
Yes,
you've
she is.
had, you're doing way more than a lot of us. And so you've taken this athletic mindset of day by day, step by step, and really applied it to your work ethic. And that's gone in parallel with parenthood as well, too. And so I'm curious to know how this mindset can inspire future Haven Club owners and how you've seen this resilient mindset shift in Haven families as well.
hmm it's interesting, I think, that from the athlete side, from that, well, parenting or sports or building a business, it is a process. And I think coming into it, believing in it, having faith and knowing, like, if this is for you, this is for you. And nothing happens overnight. Nothing worth having happens quickly, unfortunately. Labor, having a baby, usually takes a pretty long time.
Yeah.
Growing a business takes a long time. Training for an Ironman takes a full year. There's this thing of perseverance, of really biting into something and holding on and knowing that they're going to be really, really hard days and they're going to be really great days. And, this is how I look at the adventure of life, right? It's a roller coaster. If everybody knows those old fashioned roller coasters, they tick, they tick, they tick, and you
Yeah.
climb slowly to the top, tick, tick, tick. And you get to the very top and you're looking over and then you plummet down. And oh my God, it feels like the scariest moment. But then all of a sudden you're like flattening out and then it's tick, 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 ticking up to the top again. And being patient enough to trust the process, trust that you're on the right path. If you're on a path, honestly, it's the right path because I'm sorry to be corny, but that's the way the universe works. There are no mistakes, right? So if you fail, you get up, you try again. You fall off the bike, you get up, you get back on, you try again. You bonk one day, you're like, tomorrow's going to be better. Believing in that. And I feel like that's one of the things that with Haven, like if you go home and you have a bad day at work, whatever, you're going to get up in the morning and you're going to see friends, not necessarily your coworkers, not necessarily, but you're going to see friends. You're going to see parents who are in the same position as you are. Everybody who's in that space is a parent or a caregiver. And so you have this support system every
Yeah.
day. Every day you go, someone's opening the door with a smile, and your kids are like, "Hey, mom, see you. I'm going to go have a great day." It's There's something about the culture there that I sorry, I got totally off track of the question.
It's
Oh,
great.
but that's it's if you have a purpose, right? If the purpose is winning a race or getting the job done or getting your kids to kindergarten, knowing everything they need to know to go to kindergarten, which isn't much, by the way, except how to be good humans, which you can really learn when you're 2 and 3 years old. That's it's just it's the process, it's the day to day, it's showing up for yourself, it's showing up for your peers, it's showing up for your colleagues, and knowing that it's all going to be okay. At the end of the day, it's all going to be okay. It's going to be great, it's going to be better because you're at Haven and you're
yeah.
where your people are. You have this community of people who are like-minded, that believe in you, help you believe in yourself. It's really important.
Yes. Oh, that's such an inspiring answer. And it makes me think about the nuggets of hope that Britt speaks so often of. And it's and so Britt, I'd love for you to explain this a little bit more about this connected by a shared culture. And like you talk, how can we scale, but then also impact without losing heart? And I'm just curious to know about how you imagine us sprinkling little nuggets of hope around the country.
There. So I said nuggets of hope one time. And it's really funny because it's actually true. And when I did that, I was describing the community, right? So I was describing when you place a haven in a community. And the reason why we're growing the way we are is because it's so critical for us to have people who have ownership, right? Who are in that community, who are a part of it and who are the heart of it. And there's really genuinely a heartbeat to it because once you start putting it together and you start building these people and giving them an environment which they can make their own, um, and just something magical kind of comes from it, and it's going to look different everywhere. But the thing which was so important to me was, one, I thought it would be disingenuous for us to just grow as a corporate company and not have that real heart in each place. Um, and two, I also know, as somebody who spent 2 years trying to figure out how to open the first one, not having ever had a brick and mortar business, having no background in childcare, um, I overturned every single rock that I could find. I asked every question of every person I could. I made every mistake you could possibly make um, along the whole journey, and our team has too, and they've learned so much from it. You learn. I think 95, this is a totally random number, but I feel like it could be 90% of your wisdom comes on the backside of mistakes that you've made and just failures and things that you've had to learn from. And and so I think that's what we're bringing with us, we've been patient. We have very intentionally built systems and all sorts of standards and systems and operations and onboarding programs and things which we are able to now provide to franchisees so that they don't have to go through anything like what I went through when I was getting it set up. It's actually a really simple process to set up a haven, which is wild because, it's not a tiny place. It's like it's a community. But the way that we've set it up and the experience that we've had, we can make that a simple process for people to go through, and we get to support them all along the way. And so I think that is showing up 100% for people. That's our job. And then making their experience of whether it's opening a haven, running a haven, being a member of one, or working at one, it's our job. And that is our whole purpose, to make that an experience which they feel as rich in life and as fulfilled in as we have. So it's, I there's really no, I couldn't imagine it any other way than the people every community that we can possibly grow into in this country, owning it, you know? You own your haven. It's yours. And then being able to also have that experience, whether it's touring someone through the club and seeing the value that this is going to provide them and seeing the relief it provides them. I I would take that scary jump to doing something audacious and different every single time if I knew that this was on the other side of it. And so we just want to make sure everybody understands this is what's on the other side of it, and we're going to get you there. And so that's why we've very intentionally put together the program that we have. And it's also why we've built a team, which if anybody from the outside looks at our team, we went to great lengths to assemble a group of people who, for our first, call it 15 franchisees, you've got a team that could also service 100 franchisees, and we did that because we want to grow into it. We want to grow into our team, but we never, ever, ever want to be on the back foot. And we always want to make sure that we're showing up in a way which allows the experience to not feel like, a stressful experience for people. So we put a lot of thought and time, and we've been really grateful for being surrounded by supporters and, and investors and investment who understands the value of doing it right. And so yeah, I've never been more excited about my job and my role as I am being able to guide people through this.
Wonderful. Thank you. So this question is for all three of you from our audience. When you think about the future of work and childcare, where do you hope or think the Haven model will make the biggest impact? Morgan, do you want to start with that?
Sure. I I mean, I don't even have to hope. I know because I had my child in the program from age, 8 weeks. Then we were closed for COVID for a little bit, but after that, he was back, and you know, I had him in the program for 5 years. It was the most life-changing thing, and yes, of course, I was on, the sort of management admin side of it too. So it was a little bit different, but to have my child experience it for the whole building up of it, I mean, it made it possible for me to build up my career. I even, I went back and got my MBA during that time. I was able to, still have a family life and, feel like I was just getting work done and even start, just feel like I was thriving and not surviving. And that is the goal. So I don't even have, I think my hope is that many other people will get to experience this, not just the members who come through the door in Rhode Island or the members who've come through the door in New Jersey. That's my hope, is that so many other families will get to experience this across the country. I mean, that's my hope.
Wonderful. And Christy, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this.
Well, Morgan said it very well. And for me, I'm a very big part of the community where Haven Gladstone is. I've lived there my entire life. So I sometimes bump into people with their kids and they're like, oh, so lucky I have this thing. I go to this place called Haven. They don't even know that I'm a founder or investor. And I get to hear, like, really with no filter, how great it is and what a huge impact it has had on their lives. And we actually have a big family business and we have some employees who I think we have 4 farm kids down now at Haven, and I get to see the quality of their life and how their work has improved because they're not commuting to drop off with their parents. They're not stressed about the babysitter. Like, they know that their kids are really doing well. So I really get a firsthand glimpse at how the lives of these people have just changed exponentially. And so I am such a firm believer that everyone should have access to this. I hope it does
Yeah.
end up all over the country because I think it serves everyone. It serves, I also, just as a side, work in teen suicide prevention and youth mental health. So for me, we're tackling that problem from the ground up. We're creating
Yep.
better, stronger, more resilient families, happier children, more connected
Yep.
children because they know their parents. I mean, for so many reasons, parents are happier,
Yep.
kids are happier, there's less commute, there's just so much less stress. Haven is
Mhm.
like, it is your haven, it is your safe place to go with your family, to be with your family, to stay connected and still work and not give up. If you have a dream to go be a lawyer or a CEO or something you want but you also want to have kids, there's the conflict, right? I had friends that never saw their kids because they were commuting to New York City, moms and dads. Now they're just working right there. They can see their kids playing out their window. I mean, what more could you want? Really? To me,
Yeah.
that's like Haven is such a gift. I cannot wait. I want to be able to fly to San Francisco and go hang out in Haven just to be around the babies. Yeah, like Chicago.
Yeah.
Like there should be one everywhere, honestly. It's my thought.
I totally agree. I think that growing like that, exactly what both of you said, and being able to see the impact that it's having on other people and other families and seeing the quality of life improve. I that's an evolution in the industry, which is exactly what we set out to do. So if we can raise the tide, right, and make changes that help the childcare industry shift into more of a family care industry to truly show up for families, for the whole family, um, then I know mental health
Yeah.
outcomes are going to be better. I know that, there's going to be people who are staying in the workforce. I mean,
Yeah.
we have the ability, if, you know, to see so many people just live their whole lives,
Mhm.
and do it together. And so, I mean, that is an evolution of the industry, which as we grow, I'm I am so excited to
Yeah.
see, and you see it in little changes in different, you see some of the other, providers in the areas that where there is a haven kind of, you know, just noticing it. And if that elevates what they're doing to care a little bit more about decreasing stress for parents and increasing quality of life in even just the smallest way, that is a much bigger, more profound ripple effect, which
Mhm.
I'm there for all day long.
Wow, wonderful. Thank you so much. So we have a question from the audience, and it's about the Haven method and the curriculum. So I'll probably field this to Britt and Morgan since your children both went through the curriculum, but Christy, please also chime in. And so when you think about the expansion of Haven as a whole, do you envision having the Haven model have room for individual locations for, sorry, I'm just trying to interpret this question a little bit, for like micro homeschooling and co-ops or workshops for students and parents to have a little bit more of a different curriculum. I hope that makes
We
sense.
definitely we do have we have some programs, one which hopefully we're slated to launch around September of this year, which does support the, that an alternative kind of setting and just helping people. I mean, one of our one of our key kind of um, missions is we look at something and we say, is this going to help decrease the stress and increase quality of life of the parents and children in a family? And if it does, and we know that it will, then we're going to invest in trying to make that come to life. And so certainly there are environments that are outside of our four walls and will show up.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. This is another question coming from Gabriel. Does having parents on site change how these venues are required to be organized according to state or federal laws for early childhood education providers? Morgan, maybe that might be a.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. We have a few different prototypes that address a single floor or a uh, two floor model. Um, does it change? Yes, of course, the two spaces have to be completely separate. So uh, the way that, it sort of would be separated is, of course, that the parents have a space that is their workspace and their wellness space, and they have what we call, I guess a signature window where you can kind of look out and see your child playing. again, like to the sort of childcare regulation part of it. We are licensed childcare, so we certainly follow every state licensing requirement for the childcare space. And oftentimes, in fact, I would think in most states, that means that your whole building has to be zoned for the childcare use. And of course, in terms of fire code and things like that, that's got to be the whole building. So, um, it isn't like having a mixed use where you can completely ignore what's on the other side. You're sort of designing this to make sure that it's going to be able to adhere to the any building requirements for the sort of childcare licensing, fire code, anything else like that. And if you're doing, a food space, things like that. So hopefully that answers that. I mean, we sort of have the prototypes kind of address how it would work, with the layouts and the sort of blocking plans. Um,
And we take
and
people through that whole process. Once you've
yeah,
signed
absolutely.
on, we've got an entire, you know, process that'll take people through
Yeah.
getting the types of approvals, the licensing process. That feels like a big beast, right? Of a hurdle, but for us it's actually super manageable, and it's not a stressful experience at all. It's one which at Haven we actually look forward to the random visits from licensors.
Hmm.
Most childcare, most of our employees who are at the clubs in their past lives and in the past companies that they worked with, everybody would be afraid, or they'd like kind of freak out when licensing was coming. And one of the fun things that you see with our employees is their first time when they have a drop in from licensing, they're like, wait, everybody loves this, like that person. And they're actually like, we just show them the things. And so the relationship and the way that we approach things is very different too. So there's a lot that goes into it, but we certainly have systems that are set up to carry people through that.
Thank you. And actually, that's actually a great point. Speaking about the building, our next webinar is going to be with Chris Ryan, who is helping design the third design havens across the country. And his
Yeah.
signature perspective is about the third place.
Yeah.
And actually,
His
Christy,
TED Talk. He
yeah,
just
no,
he just I think 2 weeks ago did a TED Talk on third places, and anybody
yes.
who's going to come to that webinar, I'd highly recommend listening to that TED Talk too.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And actually, Christy, I'd love to get your perspective on building communities and creating third places because you have such a visceral love for communities. And I know we're at time almost, so I'll let this be a quick one.
I could talk to you guys all day long.
Yeah. No, I just think it's really important to have a sense of community wherever you are. And that's one of the most important things for mental health. So feeling connected, feeling like you belong, feeling like you have people, like you have somewhere to go where you have someone you can relate to, whether it's your children, your parents, your families, your friends. I think for some people, staying connected is very hard, and so especially between work and home, and making that transition from work to home. So I think Haven just smooths that transition a little bit. It's like you're guaranteed a friend. Like if you don't want to go home at whatever time the day ends, you have an extra hour. You could take a walk with a friend. There's somebody there. So I think it's just a place where you always feel welcome. And that is such a big part of building community. And I think especially post COVID, where we were all so isolated, I had a community. I was pretty lucky. We had a community that sort of gathered outdoors. But I think that really, really it had such a big impact on me when I chose to get involved with Haven, was that such a strong sense of community. And especially, it's just lonely when you first have a baby, and if you're just at home. But if you get to be somewhere where other people are having babies and stay connected, it's not like you drop off and run to the next place and then pick up and run to the next place. You just like drop off, go upstairs, have a coffee with somebody else who might be having the same experience. You feel like, okay, I'm a part of something really big. That's important. Knowing
Well,
you're important to a community is important for your mental health.
that we need to put on a t-shirt and a bumper sticker and
Okay. Awesome.
yes, I love that. Well, everyone, thank you so much for joining us. This was an incredible conversation today. As we learned today, childcare alone is not enough, and that families need holistic family care. So at Haven, we are intentionally designing to designed to meet this moment, especially with our robust franchise model. And so we'd love to connect with all of you again, especially if you're looking to bring a Haven to your community. Please reach out. We'll be in touch with also others. Like I said earlier, our next conversation will be at the end of April with Haven's third place architect, Chris Ryan. That'll be a really exciting one. So please, please reach out. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Thank you all
Yeah,
so
thank you.
much.
Great to
Thank
see you
you.
guys.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank
Chat soon.
you.
Bye.
Bye.